Can you guys hear us?
Okay.
Do that.
Can you hear me?
Confirmation.
Confirmation. Okay, let me send your posties. Can you guys hear us?
Okay.
Do
Yeah,
that.
so we're gonna
Okay,
share
I
the
can hear
screens
myself.
too.
Hold
So
on.
confirmation.
Oh, this is gonna be nice. I'm gonna get to see Johnny work.
Yeah.
You get to see me make a mess. That's usually all I do.
Work it, you sexy beep.
Okay, the stream is actually gonna be hot. I'm liking the direction.
So
It's
hot.
nice.
It's just
With
as
me
long
and
as
Johnny
it doesn't go in one direction, we're fine.
Which direction is that?
Oh, we go every
Here's
which
how.
direction.
Okay. So.
God.
Alright, so I just revealed everything, so we're technically very live right now. But we're not live
Okay.
live because it's not 4 p.m.
We're not actually really alive.
No. We're not live.
You don't get to do this kind of thing and like be alive. It's gotta.
Well, not socially anyway.
Yeah.
I think I've been
Hey,
dead for that.
socializing's overrated, man.
I don't think I've ever been alive for that. To be socially
That's-
alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Well,
It's weird to find yourself on like, what this today is Saturday. Oh wait, that's not weird on Saturdays. But like I've done not very much all day. I've done a lot of laundry. And that's pretty okay to do. But it's not what I usually do on Saturday. I don't know.
That's amazing.
This explanation
What
of
is,
something
what is
just
that
went-
like? It's okay,
It was supposed to be
grandma
that-
and you.
an example of like freelance lifestyle or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you talk about your experience with laundry?
Oh,
it's the
And-
first question.
What's it like? What's it like?
As a professional artist.
Yeah, as a professional artist, what's it like doing laundry?
I like to compose a mixture of detergents to get the optimal result.
shit.
Oh, that's creative.
So like
No,
you
that's
are
such a
playing
creative.
with the, yeah, he's
Yeah.
playing with the saturation of
Yeah,
the
exactly,
of the
yes.
chemicals.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Casuals do laundry like this, but then creatives, they
Oh, that fucking like that was so cringeworthy.
so Evan, when you're being a creative person compared to like
Yeah.
filthy casuals, do you wear a fedora? Is that,
Okay.
is that your-
I think we need to take a moment and just appreciate a little thing here. The hat
All
you
right.
are, the hat you're ridiculing is not a fucking fedora. That's a
Yeah.
trilby. The fedora is the hat that Indiana Jones wears. Just
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh,
I think it's- It's still kind of,
no, but what I'm saying, wait, are you dissing Indiana Jones?
Oh.
Because I will not touch that.
Hi, stream's
Now,
over.
but- oh.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Awesome.
That's actually pretty cool because the Indiana Jones.
I mean, it's iconic.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone
Would
call
I
that
wear
a
it?
fedora though.
Would I wear it out, though? Maybe not. Then again, I'm not a hat person. I'm more of a...
Evan, you can't just
Whoa.
say truthful things. It's gonna.
Okay. Hold on, I need to... Can you, Zabby, can you check, before we start, can you check the Facebook live stream real
Before
quick?
we
'Cause
start.
It looks like it's really messing up.
Sure. 1 second.
What are you using for the streaming? Are you using Restream?
Seems
Yeah,
fine. Why?
Really? Is it okay?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, it's live and I can hear and I can see things
Okay,
that.
very strange.
Johnny
Alright.
said.
I guess it was just me. Alright. It's 4 o'clock. We're officially starting, now. Welcome
Yeah.
to another Edge Control live stream. And today
Yeah,
we are...
it's 10
So-
o'clock. It's 10 o'clock.
It's-
Thank you, Ben.
It's 10 o'clock.
The correct time is 4 p.m. Thank you very much. Today we are so blessed, so wonderfully blessed to be in the presence of Mr. Evan Amundsen and Jonny Howell. Welcome, boys.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Woo!
Great.
The two amazing storytellers. It's a
Amazing.
good dynamic here.
Two amazing people.
I've been warming up to this by watching Trailer Park Boys. So
What?
yeah,
Wait, I'm confused. I don't know what to think.
Have you not seen Trailer Park Boys?
I've seen a tiny bit. I don't know,
Watching
man.
it, to be honest.
It's just that they're Canadian, so I've been, you know.
Is that?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I don't think we're gonna get a very good. Yeah, man. We're not. There's Canada and then there's Toronto people. So Toronto people is like its own thing.
That's true.
I see.
Yeah.
We're kind of like miniature New York, like very miniature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would
And like
anyone
a little
else agree
nicer.
with you on that, or is that just the Toronto perspective?
No,
No,
I don't know. I'm
it's-
just trying to.
It's reality. It's objective reality.
Yeah.
Like, if you asked a New Yorker, would they accept you as their lesser brethren?
They wouldn't.
They probably
They wouldn't tell
wouldn't.
the
No.
difference.
No.
They would just be like, "Wow, your money's really clean."
Yeah, you have plastic money. You have monopoly money, and it smells different.
You know, maybe I should ask
Sure.
James what he thinks. He's probably gonna be like, "Nah, fuck you, man."
Okay. So before, oh god. All right. I wanna briefly introduce like edge control because I feel like that's what we have to do and talk about.
Talk about our Lord and Savior Edge Control
Yeah.
Expo.
So
All right.
for those of you who don't know, Edge Control Expo is an event that myself and Zabby over there, we run
What's up?
in Toronto, Canada. And this year, on August 19th and 20th, we are bringing Evan to come and present along with five other artists, professional artists. We had a stream earlier with Yana Shermer and John Polidora, who presented last year, and that was a wonderful time.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys invited JP, because I haven't seen him since I lived in California. So it's
we were talking the other day actually, and he has some questions for you. A few questions.
Oh shit!
When we get into like, as we can start getting into Q&A. I feel like that's what people are.
Yeah.
So I
JP's
think the
a
most-
really chill guy.
He's wonderful. I'm so glad that we met him. We got to hang out with him.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think the most obvious thing to talk about right now is time, which is, did I say that right, by the way? Time thing?
Yeah, time.
Time. Okay.
Time.
I
Or is it actually Tegan?
Taken. Here to talk about
Okay, I'm gonna make a confession. I actually thought it was Tegan
Tegan.
until I heard you say what it was. This didn't happen.
So Tying is Evan's new book, which he just released a Kickstarter for, and
Yeah.
it's compiled from his 365 sketches that he did throughout last year, which is fucking it's bonkers,
Which, you know,
which
It's
is
good.
wonderful.
I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can check it out if
Please
you
do.
somehow missed this amazing book.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's missed it so far, but just in case, you should
Yeah.
definitely check it out. It's filled with wonderful things, wonderful drawings.
And story.
And I personally wanted to know how you actually stumbled into it being a thing, because like I'm curious to know, like, because in the beginning I remember you saying that it wasn't like you didn't want to, or like it wasn't initially going to be a 365 day thing, and then it kind of evolved into what it is now. So I'm kind of curious, like, what were the stages as you progressed through these 300 days of drawing?
So it started on like 1st of January last year, and my friend Espen was visiting in California, and we were having a very lazy first day of the year. So he had lent me this book, Ready Player One, and he had like a character that was his favorite character. And he asked if I could draw that, and that was kind of fun. And then the day after, we sat down and we didn't have anything to do, so I drew another character, and then sort of all that week we kept doing that. And then the next week, I kept doing it after he went home. And then after about a month, it just became like a habit. And then it started becoming something that I wanted to see how far I could go with it. And then after a couple of more months, it just I figured a year would be sensible, and then once the new year started closing in, I started getting ready to have a little bit more personal time during the day.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So when you were creating the sketches, was there like were you thinking of building within a world, or were you just kind of doing offhanded sketches, or was it like a mix of both?
In the beginning, it was definitely more sort of casual, and then as it went on, I kind of got more satisfaction out of just making stuff up and like going deep into that. Like when you're sitting and you're drawing a character, you kind of automatically start thinking about who is this person, who's this character, what would they do in these situations, and yada yada yada. And I kind of just wanted to do more of that and like really figure out the character. So I would just start making up characters as I walked around and did everything else during my day. And then once I got to the time I had set off during the day for this project, I had something to go on.
Do you find that the characters you're making get influenced by the people you meet in real life and how they react and their stories and whatever? Or are they purely your mind?
Of course, it's a bit of a sort of result of observation, as with anything else. I think more than people I met, it was probably more people I read about or things I read that influenced the stuff I came up with.
I see. Okay.
Sorry, just a quick reminder to the audience. You guys can put your questions in the Twitch chat and we'll keep track of them and ask them later when there's time.
Yeah. Talk to us.
So a question about storytelling. I've been trying to think more about these things because I'll be going into 4th year with Denzel, and we will have to work on our own IP. And I'm curious as to if you guys have any kind of guidelines for yourselves in terms of making stories. And a lot of times I find myself really lost because there's so many possibilities. Like, how do you...
You mean like world building?
Yeah, just overall, it starts from a story, I believe. Like, what's your goal with that? Like, how do you do that?
How do you world build?
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
I think in essence, it's a lot about like trying to tell something simple, but tell it well. And then you can add complexity as you go, but you have to make sure that there's one core statement that you're trying to get across, be it a statement as it relates to a larger narrative or a very specific statement about a character. You have to make it simple enough that the core statement or the core sort of information is easily transferable, and then you can add stuff up after that to sort of emphasize.
I see. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jonny? Because I remember you were talking about like how you went about world building on your stream, and you were talking about like how it came from an idea, and then you kind of just build on top of that.
Yeah.
What's your...
I find with things like IP development and world building, like I said before, it's kind of, sometimes it comes from just like, yeah, like you said, like a little idea that's almost like you don't really take seriously. It's kind of just something cool, like an anchor point almost, And you're like, oh, that idea is really cool. I like that idea a lot. It could just be like stupidly like some like kind of hat this guy wears that defines their character, Right. And then you start creating like this world off all these different other characters that also have really weird hats that define their characters, and then it becomes like this thing, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think for me, if there's like one rule that's like, oh, like how, like what you should do in terms of like IP development, just do a lot of it, because I think when you first start off, a lot of your ideas and things that you come up with are going to be pretty good, but they're not going to be as good as the ones you'll come up when you start to really understand like how you create and come up with ideas. And the more time you put into doing your own personal stuff, that's going to be like it's like the best investment you can do, pretty much. So like no matter what stage of it you're at, I think if that's something you're interested in doing, I think everyone should do it. And not to mention, it's just way funner than anything else, honestly. Like, it's an opinion, of course, but I'm pretty sure like I'm pretty sure Evan really will agree that doing personal work is like probably the funnest stuff.
We're sitting and playing God. I mean, even well, that kind of becomes part and parcel of it. But that's that thing of just having like, yeah, I can do literally anything I want with this. Unlimited power.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's fair. Yeah. So, but what if you had like, say, this is going to sound really academic. What if you had like a thesis prior to like any sort of characters, any sort of even genre? Like you have a statement that you want to say. Like, is there a reverse way of like getting into like how do you start world building when you don't have like a scene or like that spark? I'm gonna call it a spark.
Well, then you have to just make up a premise for yourself to fulfill.
Okay.
So, like, if you don't have a brief, you have to literally just make a brief, I guess.
I see.
Yeah, maybe that brief will be shit too. So like, you got to go back sometimes and redo things.
Yeah.
Like, being very, very honest with yourself in terms of the ideas you're creating, and like, if you get to the point where like you can identify that like, oh, this idea isn't really good, you got to kill it off. Like, and you can't be afraid of that.
Okay.
That's pretty important.
That is important. Sounds important.
Definitely. I know that Jonny, you have Ravlon in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you'd like to say about that amazing thing to the audience?
I don't know.
What is Ravlon, Jonny? Huh?
Yeah,
What is
let's
it?
start with that.
Show us some things. Show the world. Do it.
Oh boy. Okay. So Ravlon is I'm not gonna give away too much, but basically it's a story I've been slowly working on for a while. The way I go about world building, story building is it's kind of very organic. I don't have a very set idea. I just kind of have a mood and a feeling that I want to get across, and then I just work off that. And then through trial and error of like making different kinds of like, it's a little bit abstract. So like, I'll do a character and I'll be like, I think they kind of fit in this world, but I'm not sure. But then after a while, I'll scrap some, I'll keep some. And I knew I wanted to do a world that was this kind of like inspired by like stuff like, the old Robin Hood cartoon that I watched as a kid was a huge inspiration for me growing up. The Redwall books were also really, really big. If any of you guys haven't read those, they're pretty crazy. And I wanted to do like something kind of like that, but I wanted to do something that was like my take on how those things would work and those characteristics. And I wanted to do like a fantasy story. I didn't want to do just, like kind of like a medieval thing or whatever. And growing up, I liked drawing animals a lot as a kid. So like, I started to realize that you could like take little characteristics of animals and then you could accentuate them and make them a little bit crazier. So
like the eyebrows on your monkey.
I think the owl was the first character I came up with, and then I came up with this hyena that I wanted to do, but then I'm not using them as the main character. And then I thought it would be really cool to have this like these three characters: the owl, the monkey, and the otter. I don't know. I don't really remember how I came up with the name Ravlon, and then basically from like my starting point is like I want to have these three characters interact with each other, and I want there to be this fantasy world, and the narrative is where they're basically just on this journey, and then just stuff happens. But the whole journey, they're on this little boat going down a river, because the otter's like a boatsman or whatever, and yeah, that's. That's like the base of it. There's other stuff, but it's like I'm still putting like a lot of pieces together and doing production stuff on my end for now. So, but I'm gonna have something this year, probably some kind of teaser or a short or something. So we'll see. To give you guys a bit of feel for the mood, because when I think about creating worlds, I think I kind of get lost in all the little aspects and details of it. So like the soundtrack, the mood, the color palettes, all this kind of stuff. I start really thinking about like where I want to take it in the future eventually. So where I just start off with something small, but it goes for it go like I'm thinking into the future too. Like I eventually want to do like a game or an animation out of it. So it's like just thinking of just building things up to the point where I have like a whole package. There's a few other ones I'm working on as well too, like the muddy mallets and stuff like that. But that's like I'm kind of all over the place right now, and work honestly has been a little bit crazy, so I'm not able to put as much time into IP work, but hopefully that will change soon.
Okay.
That's cool.
Sick nasty.
So everyone, keep your eyes open for that. Okay, later this year.
Mine are open. I haven't closed them.
So we have questions from the audience. So I'm gonna get that rolling. Samantha Denzel, would you like to see
Francis
this?
Kushu.
Says, question for Evan and Johnny. How does what you books, films, and whatever work its way into your storytelling?
How does what you consume?
Yes, like such as books and movies and anything, I guess, with story. How does that work into your storytelling overall?
Well, pretty organically, I guess. Like if I see something that that I get inspired by, then I guess I'm gonna be inspired. But it's a weird question. Like, how does it work its way in? I try not to copy other people, but sometimes stuff comes into my work in a greater degree than I intend. Sometimes.
Do you feel like you have any like major influences that do heavily affect? Yeah, both of you.
Oh yeah, like Claire Wendling and Paul Bonner are definitely people who I've gotten. My work has resembled maybe a little too much at times.
Yeah.
But their work is just so utterly lovely that it's hard not to.
I think you can see influences of stuff like Paul and Claire, but I think your work is really unique, honestly. Like, I think you've maybe unbeknownst to you, you've been spawning little baby Evans here and there, which is kind of cool. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's really a really interesting aesthetic. Like, it's very unique. Yeah, it's good.
Spread the word. Evan has kids.
Alright, bastards.
Tell a friend, quick.
Bunch of little snows running around.
That's really cool. Like I find that a lot of things I see and read or anything that's in my life somehow seeps in. And when I notice it, though, I try hard to fight it. I try to not have it be shown that much in my work, but that turns out to create a certain block.
Yeah,
in a way.
I have a question for Evan, because we're on the topic, I guess, of influences and stuff. So you mentioned a few artists that you were influenced by. What about books that you've read?
Oh, definitely. Like, yes.
I know Tolkien right away is like a small part of it, at least, because that's.
I can't write like Tolkien does, because he writes in like a saga style, and it's an insane. I mean, if you go back and just analyze the way, like the Book of Unfinished Tales, because that's how he wrote it intuitively,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
going into nerd territory here, just forewarning.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna go deep into it, but it's just one of those like it's one of his sketchbooks for storytelling. Yeah. And the thing is, like, that, it's so cool to read because he writes in such a unique way, but I can't write like that. But I'm definitely inspired by his world building.
Yeah. Yeah, Tolkien's a really big one for me. I kind of developed a new love for him when I went through the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales. After reading through the other stuff, like I read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings when I was pretty young, and that was always like a pretty big part of my life. But yeah, Unfinished Tales is really interesting. Like, if you guys in the chat are Tolkien fans and you haven't read the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales, like you should get on that. It's juicy.
Stuff.
It's super juicy.
Okay, that's one thing on my list. While we're still on this, I want to know if you guys can list more books that you really recommend, because like I have time to read, and I'd love to know the things that you guys find amazing.
Culture.
Yeah, give us some culture.
I'm definitely curious. Ooh.
What was that?
Just for sheer gall in concept breaking, and just like the way he makes up a fantasy world that sometimes just, I mean, it's just a love letter to, you know, classic fantasy, and then he breaks with convention and he uses his own world building to tell stories about our own world in like really subtle ways. That I think is like super admirable.
What
George
did you
R.
say
Martin
his name was?
Huh? Terry Pratchett. Discworld.
Okay, cool.
Discord.
Con Eagles is really interesting because he writes historical fiction, but he sets up the world for you. Like, he sets up the setting very well, and he sort of manipulates it interestingly. So he makes you understand like the social norms and stuff of like Mongolia when he talks about Genghis Khan, and so you find yourself like empathizing with these brutal choices they make because you understand how tribal society works. And you're like, oh my god. So that's cool.
It's really awesome. I'm gonna put these names on in the chat so people can check it out.
For me, a really, really big one that some of you guys might or might not be familiar with. I don't know if Evan's read it before, but Joseph Weston in the chat just mentioned it. It's called The First Law Trilogy by Joan Abercrombie. I fucking love that series.
I like that.
I think for me, my driving point in storytelling has always been very interesting. Like, one thing I really wanted to nail that I'm not very good at, like, well, one of my weaknesses is very interesting character interactions and dialogue.
Yeah.
So, you know when you have like these kind of books where characters just like go off on a conversation for like pages and they're just talking about like random like just stuff, and it's not like, just the way it's done is so like, I don't know. I love that kind of stuff. You see that in old film a lot. It's not as current nowadays. Now it's like they'll have a few comedic, you know, quips, and then they'll like go into the action or whatever. I like when there's like stuff is a little more dialogue heavy and well paced out. But
yeah. The pitfall of that, of course, is that you end up in exposition land, which is not fun. Like I can't remember, it was one of the Marvel movies where essentially the whole setup between two characters was expositional stuff they shared while things were going on in action.
yeah.
And
But it has to be done well. Like, that's
so,
the case of how not to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they do that really well in First Law because you get the entire impression of a person through the eyes of another person. And then that impression gets shifted as you see them through the eyes of different people. So you get this like really in-depth idea of people because you get them observed from different people whose mentalities you're starting to understand as you read the book.
There might be a few questions in the chat.
No, I'm sifting through some of them.
Sure. I can. Yeah, go ahead, Denzel.
The Fox and the Owl asks, should you ever cater your story to your audience or what's popular, or keep it true to the original? Which I think is interesting because I feel like balance of that is more important, but it is important. But I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm a little unsure what it means because, I mean, I'm sure surely your audience is your audience because you're giving something specific that they like. So catering to your audience must then mean to cater to your better sense. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Or maybe I guess they mean like more of a generic or more of a common mainstream, you know, theme or something that would resonate with a larger audience than a minute, you know, group of people.
I guess there's a balancing act there because you can get too specific to stuff that's, you know, only barely analogous to everyone else's existence.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with my answer one. Go with your better senses. If it turns out your better senses are fucking horrible, then you'll learn something about yourself.
Yeah.
And isn't that what life is all about?
That's true.
Do you have any thoughts, Johnny?
I agree. I agree a lot with that because I feel like what Evan was saying, like people will follow you for what you do. And I think like if you have good taste and you're constantly striving to improve, I think you can eventually, like, it takes time, but you can eventually like be known for the stuff you do, and people will like that because it'll be very unique. That being said, it's much harder to do that if you aren't willing to self-improve, because it doesn't, you could have the coolest idea to say in the world, but if nobody, like, if you can't speak the language, then nobody's going to understand what you're saying. So improving yourself, like the technical side or the fundamental side of drawing and painting, or even just like storytelling, writing, music, or whatever, the better you get at it, the easier it is going to be for people to relate to those things and to understand what it is you're saying, so that they can better, like, be like, oh, this is your voice that you're speaking with, and I can get this, even if, like, I don't relate to all the aspects of it. It's a language I can understand. And I think that's really important. And I think that's probably a lot of why, like, Evan's stuff is so appealing, is because, you know, it's interesting and it's unique, but it's technically very, very well done. So we don't look at it and scratch our heads and like, is this art? What does this mean? You know, like, it's very clear what it is, and it's very well drawn. So I think that's important.
I think it's easy to be a part of, because, like, we grew up liking things that we're influenced by. I like, on the offhand, I think, to add to that, I feel like empathy for the audience is kind of a factor as well. Like, it's easy to be original, I think, and come up with, like, a, you know, batshit crazy idea. But if your audience or people, or if there isn't a lot of people to, you know, that will get it, then, you know, your work will only mean something to you. And that's, to me, that's not really storytelling, because it only involves you.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
yeah, it's rambling.
Yeah. So I feel
That's
like,
modern art.
and I wanna submit something to a modern art museum one day, just to see.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Hey, why
Submit
not?
what?
Why not?
Something like an apple on pine tree. That's interesting, right?
And just label it like, I don't know, society.
Cascading waterfalls. All right. I think there are a few more questions. Still sifting through them. Question by Devil House. Do you guys have any general tips for making the figure look like it's in 3D space? And do you plan your perspective before starting drawing the character? So, like, a technical question.
It's ooh. I mean, avoid straight angles, meaning, like, don't place them at 90 and 45 as it accords to the audience. You don't want them straight on, and you don't want them straight from the side. You want, you know, middle ground. Trying to achieve, like, a full figure Dutch 3/4 sort of angle is usually a good idea, because then you get a good suggestion of more than one side of the three-dimensional model.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a weird question too, because it kind of, answering it well kind of depends on this artist's work. Because if they're having problems making a figure seem three-dimensional, it might be more to do with, like, basic structural things. Mm-hmm. So I'd say master structure, because if you can master structure in terms of anatomy, then you can master foreshortening, and if you can master those two things, then you can create a pretty convincing illusion of three-dimensionality.
Very true.
Good. It's a good answer.
I know you're a pretty big advocate for, like, 3D geometry, Jonny, so I feel like in cadence.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't really have said that better, so yeah.
Okay.
That's true. Overlaps are really crucial, something I'm working towards.
There you
Overlaps tell a lot what 3D space.
There it is. Is there any other questions?
There was a question earlier that we missed, but it's about I guess this person's very, very new to art.
Like general advice.
And yes,
those are always hard to ask or answer.
They're really hard, but I feel like it'd be cool to hear what you've got to say right now, because like your answers change over time. So what the person asked was that they're currently studying game art, and what advice you have for this person who's aspiring to be a concept artist or illustrator.
Maybe a question that's more valuable would be to ask, like, what was something that was very, like, an advice that was very life-changing for you, or something that heavily impacted the way that you work to this day, if there is
learn to be okay with killing your darlings. Like,
what does that mean?
Be able to look at your work.
It's so dark and gruesome.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit.
I love it.
But there will sometimes be elements of a drawing where you have drawn that specific element well, but it isn't actually aiding the drawing or the piece. And in those cases, you have to be modest and honest enough with yourself to be able to, go in with the eraser and get that stuff out of there. I guess that pertains more to like slightly self-delusional artists like I used to be when I was little. And the moment you learn that lesson, and you learn that there's no shame in a second run, I think patience kind of follows. So.
Jonny?
Sure.
Yeah,
The main
he's too into it. He's too into it.
I kind of got lost in like this thing for a sec. The question was something about
like, do you have any
getting into concept art?
The question initially was like, do you have any like advice that kind of stuck with you, I suppose, to this day, or like things that you've found out from drawing? Like general advice was the initial question, but
that's for me, that's tricky because I feel like everything that I've learned from people has been just accumulations of different things, and it's kind of hard for me to just pinpoint one thing. So I don't know, like,
well, what's something recently?
I think there's two things that I could say is very important. In terms of just personal growth to get to that point is being very honest with yourself, like being able to look at your work and being able to identify your weaknesses and then being able to work on them and target those areas, and then also learning how to be confident about what you paint and how you paint. So being in like a proper kind of positive mindset when you go about to create stuff is really, really important for people like me, especially. If I'm not feeling good about painting or what I'm painting, my painting is going to look like something I tried to paint 5 years ago. But if I'm confident, I can paint like at like this peak level, which is, I think, how you generally want it to be. You want it to be consistent as possible. So I'd say working on things like improving yourself as an artist is going to give you confidence. But then also being like honest, like with what you're actually capable of. So learning how to like balance those two things. Like it's like a weird ego thing because you don't want to, look at your work and be like everything's shit. I'm fucking terrible. I need to get better. And you just constantly self-deprecating yourself. You want to be like, oh, I realize that I have to work on these things and get better at these things. But these ideas that I have or these personal things that I've come up with, at this time now, I really like them, and I think that like I enjoyed painting this thing, and just like having fun with that, I think is important.
That's true. I'm not like professional or anything, but going through this.
That was really well said.
Yeah, thanks. Good job, Josh.
It's just that this comes out of like a lot of that springs out of like the search people have for like style. And because when you find your style, you find your expression, it's easier to be confident about what you're trying to express. And I think a lot of that kind of comes from the same thing. Once you learn to sort of get rid of that initial impatience that we all kind of start out with, and you learn to slow down and make like decisions with some proper intent in terms of like mark making, and you're just honest enough to tell yourself that, yeah, I'm making this decision to try this thing. It might fail, it might not, but I'll be open. I mean, I'll be observant enough to see whether or not it's actually working. Once you can do that, then you can sit down and do what Johnny's doing right now, which is just fascinating to watch because it's just a series of small choices that he's making, and you can tell that he's not going into like robot mode that a lot of people kind of do when they render, and it's just these beautiful little choices that he's making. So you're getting a live demonstration right now, people.
Yeah. Look at it.
As a beginner, I personally had a lot of fears too. Like, I would constantly ask for people's advice here and there. Like, oh, what should I do? What should I do that? And I think most of my time was spent just getting advices rather than gaining the experience of messing up. Like, I was really scared of messing up when I had nothing there in the first place. As a beginner, I find that, like, just first get into it, make a mess, because you can't fully grow if you don't have a problem to solve.
Yeah,
And
going
if you have
in with
nothing on
the
canvas,
intention
you
to
have-
fuck up.
Yeah, and if you have nothing on the canvas, you have nothing to solve there in the first place. Like, do something, then try to solve it. You can't solve it, ask advice, figure that out, keep going. Basically, don't be afraid of what you're doing. Don't be afraid of this career path. Just try to head for it. Like, do it like the Evan and Johnny.
I think fear is always going to be a little bit constant, though. Like, that's probably one of the biggest things I struggle with, is just like a lot of self-doubt and just like worried about like, my performance level and staying consistent, and also just being relevant. But I think like we all kind of experience that a bit, and learning how to deal with that is part of like that growth. But yeah, it gets a little crazy sometimes. Like, yeah.
That feeling you talked about, though, it has a role on its own. Like, after a while, it will keep you constantly growing, right?
Yeah.
If you're forever feeling not afraid and confident, you're not going to grow. It's like a weird balance you have to have.
Yeah.
Sick.
All right. Keep
I
going.
wish I could
Questions.
contribute. My boy, Drive by
Me.
Uppercut, is asking, what kind of understanding or studying has been the most beneficial to you for achieving a consistent quality and result? Is that clear? Is that
Kind of. Okay, so I guess the sort of core understanding that it all comes out of nature for me was very, or rather, it all comes out of the study of nature, because for like the longest time I had this like purist idea that I should be able to deduce, the solution to any given visual problem, just mentally. I should be able to sit down and just think my way through it. And the moment you realize that that is technically true, but also really dumb, it's very liberating, because then you realize that it's more of a problem-solving exercise. So you determine the problem through working on a piece, and then you go and you solve that problem, and you gain understanding of the workings of the problem, and therefore how to come up with a solution specific to the illustration you're trying to make. And then you can actually sit down after, deep analysis and proper understanding. You can sit down and do that thing you wanted to do in the first place.
That's good advice, actually. I think that resonated with me a little bit just now. I'm gonna have to come back.
I
And watch
felt a
this
little
again.
tingle in my heart.
It warmed the old cockles.
Actually, I'm actually surprised how well behaved the chat is.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
memes. There's no memes.
Where's the trolling happening? There's no trolling.
It's alright. This is the audience that we established, like very serious, very high profile.
Yeah. Well behaved.
Unlike the town stream.
Hey. It's all day memes, yeah.
Alright.
Well, other than the question stuff, I'm just curious, like, what's fascinating you guys these days? Like, it doesn't have to be entirely art. What have you been, just
What do you do when
discovering?
you wake up? Record.
What does it feel like waking up as a professional artist?
It's like
Wow.
one long, unending crisis of personality. Never know who you're gonna be tomorrow.
What? Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Today I woke up as
Please
Jonny.
elaborate. This is
No,
really. I feel like it's deep.
And like in the best possible way, but it has a lot to do with like how you work, and when you're a freelancer specifically. I'm lucky because I now share a studio with like a bunch of people, so I get to have social interaction quite a bit. But in as much as we identify ourselves out of who we are as it pertains to other people, I'm a slightly different person when I'm alone, just having my work day, than I am when I go and hang out with most of my friends. And it's not like I'm a goddamn psychopath or anything, but it's that thing
Are you
of
sure?
well,
Oh.
that is exactly what a psychopath would say. Is
Confirmed.
but but no, just like in terms of thought processes and in terms of how your mind just processes the day, and so it's always weird to wake up and know that it's going to be another day of getting to play God, essentially. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
It's nice though.
That's
I
actually,
definitely
I really like that. That's like such a good description.
Today
know.
I'm playing God.
Like,
Who do I create?
yeah, that's cool.
No, but it's such an unbelievable kick when you find an idea, like just any part of a concept, you find it in whatever little corner of your mind it was hiding away, and then you manage to manifest it in like a palpable way. Oh man, there's just
Feel good.
nothing ordinary can compare to it. I have had no other experience in terms of like a professional thing, or most personal experiences do not live up to that really weirdly solitary moment of I manifested something, I made something in my head, and then I made it real to a sufficient extent. That's awesome. Oh.
And there's a lot of people looking into the world you created and having their own experiences. Not exactly the way you want them to experience, but there's different experiences they get from that. That's really amazing.
Oh, that's even like whenever I receive messages from people and they've had like some sort of brain fart about what I've made, and I put it down, and then they've thought further into it. I get such like it's such a weird. I mean, because you sit there and suddenly like you feel very Carl Sagan-y. Just like, oh, we're all connected.
That's the new description now. Like the emotion. I had a Carl Sagan moment the other day.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
I had a pale blue dot moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. And the personality thing, I feel like we all act differently, not just to groups of people, but every person we talk to are slightly behaving differently. In terms of, there's lots of factors, like how close you are to the person, and what are the things they like, so you only relate to them with the things they like, and how far are they willing to accept how weird you can get and stuff like that.
I love that game. How weird can we get? My favorite.
You lose, you go to jail.
Oh, it's about to get dark.
Oh man.
It's always been dark. Anyways, back to the questions, see?
Guess so.
Let's get some, where were we? Do you remember that?
Oh no, it's flooded with memes. I can't see.
Yeah,
I should have said anything.
Jonny,
but-
yeah. What'd you do?
Really quick, Giant Wood asked a question. Is there a place that I can check the schedule for the sketchbook group? Yeah, just on Facebook. If you have me on Facebook, just send me or if you see me on Facebook, it's pretty easy to find. Just send me a message or whatever, and I'll invite you to the group if you're not already in it. Sorry, just yeah.
can continue.
There's a question asking, how do you get into an industry or into the industry if you're only a freelancer? Is it just a portfolio on ArtStation, or do you need more? And I'm kind of curious of how both of you got your first jobs and work, and like.
If you are a freelancer, you're in the industry first and foremost. But secondly,
Surprise. You're an artist.
First of all, ArtStation helps like nothing else, because it's just the exposure there is great, and it's just a nice way of being able to share your portfolio. But you know, the old adage works that it's not just about who you know. It's not necessarily about what you know. It's also about who you know. And that sounds like I'm advertising for some sort of fucking networking site, and I'm not. I'm just don't think about it as networking, because nothing is worse. I whenever I notice that someone's networking with me, I walk away because I can't do that. It's such a weird man. It's not nice, and I wouldn't want to work with people who network. Or maybe I would. I don't know. That's too big of a blanket statement. But it, make it personal. Try and be a person, because this is, it's an industry about, relatively nerdy people sitting around drawing all day. So you probably have something in common with these people that you're trying to network with.
If you go to Edge Control too, there's going to be tons of
okay, that's
so many nerds. And an embarrassing plethora of
couldn't
nerds.
help it, man. I couldn't hold it in.
He just said, "Don't do that."
It's too late. That's not networking.
No.
It's promoting.
No, that's advertising. That's fine.
There's a difference.
I'm nothing if not a good whore, so it's fine. I understand that part of it.
You guys heard it here first.
You're selling first here. The psychopathic whore.
He has children all over the place. He has multiple personalities, and he's
I'm starting to view myself in a whole new light here.
What happens?
Is that how you woke up today?
I woke up as today.
It's exciting. But on a serious note, it's very true. The most helpful connections in my life were the ones that I didn't try to pursue for the sake of being connected with someone who has connections in the industry or anything like that. Like being friends, I don't know, studying with Anthony, taking his course and being friends with him, and over time he just considered me for a job and helped me out getting a job, and that was my first step into the industry. And because that only happened because
on that point, that the people you network with or people who might at some point suggest you for a job are probably people you're going to end up working with. So nothing should be more obvious than, be a buddy, because these might be people you have to deal with anyway.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what if you're in a position where you're kind of isolated? Like you don't, maybe you discovered this industry on your own and you're studying on your own, and now you're trying to get a job at this point, and you haven't really spoken to anyone. Let's say you're kind of in that position, because I feel like,
well, then you just gotta. It kind of goes to the same point as what we've been talking about earlier. You just have to be then honest and somewhat straightforward about what your position is at this point. You are palpably at the lower end of the food chain at that point. So you're gonna have to then just figure out the easiest or most straightforward way of getting into contact with people. Go on forums and try, and if you can find a workshop someplace close by, then go and try and find people. Or the first way I started finding other people who did drawing in my town was to, I went to art school at the time, so I just started hanging out flyers all over the place for a Sunday sketch group to meet up and sit and sketch.
That's really good.
Anything, and through those guys I found out about conceptart.org, which was kind of the start of everything for me. So it's, you never know. There's very few linear paths to sort of direct you by, but
people kind of
Try
guide
stuff
people.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denzel, your question basically was like, what if you're like, isolated and everything? Like, how you do that?
Mm-hmm.
But is that like no? I'm not saying you answered
I'm
wrong.
alone.
You had a great answer, but what I want to the reason I asked is because maybe that's for people who try to study at home on their own and stuff like that. And for something like that, there's still a lot of big communities online. Like you don't have to necessarily see them in person to be good friends with them. A lot of my great friends I've never really met in real life. So I guess do consider online communities. It's a big place, and just being part of online mentorship, you have lots of classmates, virtual classmates, and they'll be a lot closer than you think.
Mm. Sick. True that. Alright. I'm gonna try and sift through more questions. Sorry, there's so many memes.
Yeah, good stuff. May I take your hat, sir?
May I take your hat? Sam Gushu asks, what, in your opinion, is the most important quality to have as a working artist?
Hands. I'd say curiosity.
Feet at the very.
You figured it all out.
Some sort of hands. No, I'd say curiosity is probably like your finest tool, and through curiosity, analysis, and understanding. Because that's essentially what this job is, especially if you're doing concept art. It's literally about figuring out what the core idea is and then how you can manifest that through different sort of reference material and different workings of a character. So, yeah. That's my answer.
This might be a strange question, but is there such a thing as, like, for example, when you're learning, like especially when you're learning, do you feel like there's such a thing as over-analysis or, like, just completely misinterpreting something? Have you ever had that kind of experience when studying, where you're trying to analyze something and maybe you interpret it in this, like, super abstract way that it's just very strange?
Well, I think if you're analyzing and then ending up with something abstract, that seems counterintuitive to me. So then, because a lot of analysis is quantifying information. It's about figuring out what the system you're dealing with is. So I feel like if you end up with something abstract, you probably haven't finished your analysis. There is something, you can misunderstand something, but that misunderstanding will then probably be sort of pointed out fairly quickly once you try and deploy that information that you've tried to get out of a study, or you try and deploy it in a sketch and it doesn't work, and then you have to go back and try again.
There's this question I think we missed by Devil House. A question for Evan. I know you've been to both THU and IFCC. How the two companies compare and why would one go to the one or the other? But there's a flaw in the question. I don't see edge control on the list. And I am not sure.
What is this?
What's going on, man?
What is it?
But
how dare you, sir?
But jokes aside, yeah, basically what's the difference between THU and IFCC in your experience, Evan?
Well, it's mostly about size. Like THU is bigger, so and more expensive for probably that case. So I would say part of the reason to choose one over the other would be what your budget is, what kind of money you have to spend on this. Generally, it's also it's more intense on, for better or for worse. Like it's definitely more intense at THU. So if you're into it slightly more for like the social aspect and for more of a sort of couple of like a week with friends learning art, then I'd say IFCC is probably more your game. If you're into something that feels a little bit more like boot camp and or like play hard, party hard sort of theme to it a little more, then that's more THU.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's the overall vibe that both have. Like one of them could be more hardcore than the other.
What's edge control like? Out of curiosity. Because
Jonny.
Johnny's experience. We don't
Johnny's-
know. We were running around last year.
I don't know that much about THU and IFCC because I haven't been there, but I'm pretty sure Edge Control's a lot better.
Well,
Because it's in Toronto and I'm in Toronto.
We've been paying him to say no. I'm joking.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a beautiful thing.
I would have to go and check those out to see, but like I don't know, I really like Edge Control. It's very comfortable and everyone's very chill. It's very it just feels like it feels like a lot of friends just hanging out together and talking about cool stuff and inspiring each other and stuff and things. It's I don't know. It's not super serious, which I like because I want to just we party really hard in Toronto, so it's cool. But yeah, there's a lot of good information that gets passed around, but it's not like where you show up and you have to like be like a specific kind of person. It's very chill overall, and I hope it stays that way because I really enjoy it. But yeah,
I didn't want to, by the way, give the false impression that they do not party hard in Zagreb because they do, and they have some absolutely insane liquors that you should just stay away from. Things like Raki. It's not good for your health and for your
110% alcohol.
Yeah, we need your party mode on, Evan, when you come here. So we really need to know what strong drinks you like and make sure your hotel room and everywhere is filled with that.
Just give me delicious beer, so I'll be happy.
Nothing strong. I mean, we need you a little more tips.
you can try out some Toronto beers.
If you really want to make me smile, then get an 18-year-old Lafroig for me. Then I'll be real happy.
Evan, there's a beer here I want you to try.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. Lefroy. How do you spell? Oh, there we go. I found it. Let's see the price.
What's the beer?
Evan, there's a beer here I want you to try. It's called Wizard Wolf.
I'm liking that. Wizard Wolf.
All right.
I lived in Quebec for 3 years, and they do have some fantastic beers over there. So I'm expecting a lot.
Toronto's. I don't know how the alcohol compares to Quebec, but I know that their poutine is probably better than ours. Okay, back on questions. Drive by is asking what methods help or work best for you with hard times in your development. Sorry.
Was that the same question again?
What methods help or work best for you guys with hard times in your development?
Slowing down, almost always. Just because if I'm hitting a wall, it's usually because I've either just gotten into a modus of working that is it's good for maintaining but not for progressing, and usually I have to slow down to find it and sort of eliminate it and try and work out some sort of new approach to whatever problem solving gimmick I had gotten into.
Let's see. What are you doing?
For a long time I was habitually using rim lights on everything.
I remember this.
Because it was just it was you found it and it was just this thing you put on your pictures and they looked so good and you're like why would I ever stop? And then you start realizing oh no, it's a trope. It's just something I'm putting on because I'm putting it on. And so I would stop doing that, or I would for the longest time I would draw like hands with the middle and ring finger would be like joined together because you would get these like elegant hand gesture things out of it. And it's not entirely out of reason because your two middle fingers tend to be together in a lot of gestures, but it was just this thing that I was doing habitually. And then I found it and I was like, shit, that's what it is. And then I started like studying hand gestures a lot more, and then my drawings got a lot more expressive. So you just have to find all these like little little sort of visual shorthands that you created for yourself,
Yeah.
and then you have to fucking beat them out.
Keyword created for yourself, because I think that's one of the most important things for developing in ways that really, like, in terms, like, going back to the consistency thing, when you start learning and you start breaking down things in a way that you like and enjoy. So, like, you know how you look at like Loomis or Hampton, and you're like, oh, I got to figure out a way to kind of do things so that it's like reasonable. But when you get to the point where you can start actually extracting that information from nature in a way that you like, then the information really starts to stick, and you start to really start having fun with it. I think that's really important.
That's
Very well put, sir.
Yeah. Studying can be really hard when it's just you're studying for the sake of studying and things just flow out of your head.
So I think that's kind of the problem, though, because you shouldn't study just for the sake of studying.
Yeah.
You should study as a part of a greater problem-solving effort.
Yeah.
So figure out what the problem you're trying to address before you start the study.
But that's the thing. From my experience, like going to an art school, like the way a lot of people are really new to art, they're brought into it. It's like, okay, welcome. Here we're gonna study like this, and we're gonna study perspective. We're gonna study anatomy, and these people that are studying it, I don't think they even have a bigger problem to solve yet. They don't have a project. They don't have a actual piece to apply things into. And after a year of studying all this random fundamental stuff that they didn't apply, it's harder to stick for them. It's like, why is it taking me so long? I spent a full year doing gestures, but why can't I draw a character? Well, that's the problem. You just did gestures. You've never faced a character before.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just
Getting out of your comfort zone is a really big part of that, where like you're trying a lot of different things that are a little bit different outside of what you normally do, and then you can take those problem solving lessons that you learned, and pretty much they can relate to other things as well. Like experimenting a lot is really important.
Right. There's this question that I think has a lot of personal stuff that's happening here. So Hensid says,
"Oh no,
I feel like recently I lost most of my love for art community because I think artists, as they know, the struggle of proving art can be a job. They could help each other a little bit more, sharing a little bit more artists for artists that still aren't famous." So I really butchered that, but I think the overall thing is, do you think the famous artists should help the amateurs who don't have enough exposure more than what they're doing right now? He finds that they're not doing it.
I think that's hard to take with like one yes or no, because it's very individual from people.
Exactly, that's what I meant. Like, it was a very personal thing.
And I think, like, yes, to a degree, I suppose. One should definitely help out when people are making particular efforts. So, like, for example, with you guys, like, it's cool to be able to bring whatever eyeballs I can to your event, because it's really cool that you guys are doing this, and you guys are still students, which is insane to me. Because I remember being a student, and it was a fairly busy time. But on the other hand, it'd be weird, I guess. Like it would feel weird to go around and I spend as little time as I can on social media, so it'd be weird to like go around and actively look for things to promote. But if people come to me and ask, I tend to share whatever they're putting out there. Pay it forward, I guess.
Yeah, and personally, in my view, like, I'm still a student, but from the things I see, it's really hard to help people out when it's not really something you can also give to your group of audience. Like, you're famous in your group, in the people that see you, your audience, right? And if the person that really needs promoting gives you something that's not related to your audience and you try to promote it, it's not going to gain, like,
it's
the
just,
amount of things.
It's going to be a crush, because no one's going to care. They're going to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is not why I look for your stuff.
Yeah, like I go up to you, Evan, and then you're doing all these beautiful storytelling, illustrating stuff, and a lot of people love that. And I try to make you promote something that's completely different from what you're doing. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be hesitant too. You'd be like, well, I don't want to bother my audience being like, oh, check this, check that, and there's nothing that really relates to them, you know. And in a sense, I personally have a belief against forcefully. I'm using that word without precautions, but like sort of forcefully to promote, because people spend time on things they like and see and stuff like that, you know. And if you try to tell them to do something, to tell them like just look at this, like because I need more people to look at this, it's gonna be harder for them to get into it in a sense. Some people might love it and find it's cool, but some people might just lose interest just because you tried to give it to them.
Yeah.
Like if they accidentally found it, they would have had different love for it.
Yeah.
But if they were forced into it, then it's different. Like it's the way when I find really good music and I try to give it to my friends, they're more hesitant because I know their tastes are different. But if they find it themselves, they're stuck to it. And I talk to them like, oh, you know about this too? Oh shit, it's great. It's really hard, I think, in my opinion, as a student, to get yourself out there. There's a fine line between you're forcing it and hey, you're just doing great and people love it.
Right. I remember there was a person messaging me on Facebook like, hey, can you like my work and follow me here and whatever. And I was really hesitant to do that. Like, regardless if their work was good or not, the fact that they were trying to make me do it out of my, like, I have to do that out of my own volition, I feel, you know, and I don't think that's something that you can ask for. Really, I don't think that there's an answer to like how to get your stuff exposed other than do what everyone else is doing and trying to make the best work that resonates with you and doing it at a quality that's, you know, recognizable for people to be like, wow, this is dope as shit, you know, and posting it on, you know, social media and whatever. I think that's the most that you can ask, that you can do for yourself and ask of people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy it, keep practicing it, and
hope for the best. Cross your fingers.
People will come. People will come. Find ways to share in big groups and whatever, but people will come.
On the offhand, there are people.
Generally...
Oh, sorry.
I will say though that it's kind of hard. I mean, I honestly believe what you just said, but it's not gonna work for everyone, and that's like truly the hard part of that.
That sucks.
Is that, you know. Huh?
No. It sucks.
Like it's just, yeah, it's fucking horrible because I'm aware how much of a privilege I have just to begin with, just like where I'm from and what I mean. I'm literally from the most privileged country in the world, so I know that I came from that, and I still got lucky, you know, getting to do what I get to do. So it's hard to say, you know, just go for it, Johnny, you know, or whatever. Like that was more like the 1940s reference than anything else. But you know what I mean? Like it's hard to just say you got to jump in with both feet and just put in the hours. But it isn't not true. It's just that, you know, you might spend 10,000 hours learning how to do this, and it still might not be the dream. Like, I know a lot of people who are far better technically than I am, who have not, who are fairly frustrated with their position. Not that they don't love drawing, but that, you know, they might be stuck in a job that they're not loving or whatever. But first and foremost, if you go into this to get a job, you're gonna get a job. So you got to be prepared for that as well. And not that there's anything wrong with the job, but, you know, sometimes it's not just going to be drawing butterflies.
Right.
Yeah.
Pixies.
I find
Earlier when
that got really sad. I'm sorry. Let's move on to something happy.
Were you gonna say something, Johnny?
That's okay.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Johnny.
Well, before we like continue, I know that you both are probably super busy, and our last stream was an hour and a half. And right now we're reaching about 20 minutes left for the stream. So I'm wondering if you guys are good for, you just want to go up to like the 5:30 or 11:30 where Evan is, and there, or are you good for depending on everyone here? Like,
Yeah, no,
I'm good to go on. I might have to take like a minute to make some coffee in a bit, but apart from that, I'm golden.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying myself right now. So like,
So we can take a break in like 20 minutes or 15 or something, and then we can keep going.
Yeah, 5-minute break.
Okay.
I kind of feel bad that this hasn't been progressing very quickly, but at the same time, like I'm having too much fun with it, so I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, dude, it's a pleasure to watch it. So just don't fret. Just keep going.
Okay.
It's lovely.
Okay.
My boy, Johnny, my boy.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Hansen, my man, I'm sorry for the struggles you got. And I really didn't want to sound like, just go for it, put your foot into it, like the way Evan said.
All right.
Oh no, not that
no.
you necessarily did, but it's
No.
Whenever you come to like that kind of question for someone who's talking about like they want to get into the industry, whatever, I feel like it tends to become that answer, like you just gotta go for it, and then
No, I
the
get
more
you.
the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, but you gotta have a bit of a little bit of a bullshit barometer on yourself as well.
No, I get you. I just wanted to clarify because I think my main point was at the same time, don't try to ask the people where the audience is different, because it's gonna be harder for the person you're asking to. Yeah.
Okay, so there are 3
Alright.
questions. I'm trying to read through them really quick. But the Fox and the Owl asks, question for Evan and Johnny. If you're offered a job to compete, but it doesn't match what you normally do you take it because money is money and I need it, or do you deny it because it doesn't suit your brand and the type of art that you make? I think it's very variable, but...
Yeah, it's a very sliding scale there. Like I had an experience like that like a year and a half ago when I accepted a position at Blizzard, because part of it was because I really loved the old Warcraft games and that aesthetic.
Right.
Part of it was because it was the cinematics department, so there was some amount of trepidation about working with some pretty legendary people, and the chance of learning from them. And then it's a weird thing to get like a position like that, and then realize in a rather short period of time that this is not the dream job. This wasn't the dream, though you kind of thought it was for a long time. So it's hard to have like a hard and fast answer for that, but I'd say I try to have an idea of whether or not I'm gonna be happy doing this for X amount of hours every day, and if the answer is either meh or no, then I more often than not will not take the position.
Johnny is AFK for a bit. He's getting coffee.
He's getting coffee.
And some people want to see you doodle
back
something.
Oh no, are they demanding it?
Evan? They're like, hey, doodle!
Uh-oh.
Doodle.
We have him as hostage, so...
They want to see me doodle something?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shoot.
Oh,
Shoot.
that's gonna be difficult because I'm at home, so I don't have my Cintiq. Because I wasn't aware we were supposed
I
to
thought,
do
I thought
deadlifting.
you carry your Cintiq around in your backpack all the time with your.
If I was that
longsword.
strong, dude, no, I have my iPad at home with Procreate, so I can sit and doodle at home. But I don't have any way of putting that onto the screen yet. But I did just upload a doodle that I've been working on.
Oh shit!
While we.
Okay, I'm gonna link it.
Do it.
Guys, check
Do
this
it.
shit out.
How dare you not have your stuff,
Shit.
Evan? I thought we talked about this. We tried to prepare the stream. Hey, this is what you give us?
And that's gorgeous.
See it. It's wonderful. I accidentally
I'm
refreshed the
joking.
stream and saw it.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez, I didn't see this one.
Because you
Oh
just
my God.
uploaded it like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, what? What are you? Damn.
I haven't seen this yet. Okay, yeah.
Jeez, this is beautiful.
I need a beer back real quick. And go cry.
Yes.
So.
Good, good. That's part of the artist's life. You gotta cry a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always that thing when you find like there's always gonna be a lot of artists who you feel like, oh my man, like they're kicking my ass or whatever, like just on technicality. Then there's gonna be that one person that fucking uploads something, or you see what they've done, and you can't believe that someone could figure out such a like an elegant, simple way of doing something that you've struggled with and made complexities out of for a long time.
Yeah.
And my God, is it frustrating when you sit there and just like, why? How could it be so simple? How can I be so stupid?
You know what's crazy though?
Right.
What's fucking crazy about that is that you could be doing those things too, and other people are looking at it and having those same realizations, but you don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's weird. But like with Jonny, like the way he figured out how to do implied shape in like a shadow thing that's still supposed to like just graphically read as empty shadow. Man, that's annoying because it's so good. They're going like, how did you make something feel three-dimensional, you sick son of a bitch? I was certain. And then not content with that, he then manages to make that into like a painting style as well, and the rest of us just sitting softly into our coffee.
And seeing your piece you just uploaded, what the fuck? I'm just like, look at those gorgeous lines that are flowing into these forms. Like, if I were trying to do something like that, I would be struggling with, okay, what's the anatomy of this animal, and how do I attach it to a human, and the values, and like all the other bullshit, to the point where there's no art left anymore. It's just
that's that thing though. Then
technical stuff.
But then you've asked a lot of questions. Then you should stop, go away, do some studies, come back, deploy those studies, and boom! Suddenly, it's a lot simpler.
Yeah, that's actually the best way to study is when you go into a piece and you realize that the information you have is kind of inadequate, and that you do a lot of preliminary work, which is basically like what the Golden Age illustrators and a lot of old masters did, and it's like one of the most effective ways to do it.
Exactly. Like, really, really work into a thing, and then, what we talked about earlier, when you then manage to pull it off, and you just get to sit there and you get that, like, 30 seconds of being a little bit proud of yourself. Oh, that's so great. And then you click over on someone else's goddamn painting, and you're like, but they did this, and it's so much better.
Go back to the corner, cry, go to sleep.
You know what's actually kind of funny? You know what really wrecked me of yours a little bit before, Evan? Is because like, one of my things that I love doing all the time was drawing like tree-ish kind of people with like branches and leaves and shit. And then you did those ones for the dailies where they had like the branches that was like became part of their body. And then I remember seeing that for the first time, and I just sat there for like 10 minutes. I was like, fuck.
Time to reach my end.
Yeah. Well, it was, but then, I think for a moment I was like, why is this idea so much better than the ones I was doing? But then I also realized that like, my ideas would get better if I just kept like practicing and trying stuff. It's
Sick.
Sure.
Yeah, that stuff is really inspiring. Especially those wood elves. Like, I love those. I think those were my favorite thing in all the dailies that you did.
Beautiful. Send some hearts. Edge control stream is getting warm and lovely.
Speaking of warm and fuzzy, John Polidoro, we were talking to him yesterday, and he had some wonderful questions for Evan particularly.
Oh, shit.
And he asked, Evan, I've heard a lot about how you loved Orange County. Could you tell us about how much you love Orange County? I'm actually kind of curious, because I was considering going to California to study there, but...
Okay, so California is a big place. and Orange County's a big place. That's,
Mhm.
no, my particular hatred is for the town of Irvine.
Uh-oh.
Just the name
Which is
is
owned
gnarly.
It's an entire, like, it's a large part of Orange County that's owned by one company called the Irvine Company, and that's not to say anything other than that every architectural choice that's taken in the city of Irvine is made by one person essentially. So it's a
Whoa.
and everything, just being there feels like being on a bad movie set from the 90s. It's
Jeez.
everything's super clean, but only because they wash the goddamn sidewalks. Like it just feels like someone's what's it called? What's that name of that Jim Carrey movie? Where he's a TV show.
Wait.
I don't know.
Like everyone in the world is just watching him.
Yeah,
Fuck.
Truman Show.
Wait.
The Truman Show.
Yeah.
Go on.
It kind of feels like that. Like it just feels like every smile has a goddamn, like there's something hidden. Like everyone's a little too nice, and my inner like Scandinavian skeptic just needed to get the goddamn away from there.
Hi,
So
I'm from Irvine.
Hello, but it's that thing. It didn't feel good, and like I just needed to not be there.
You're kind of right about
And
that.
it's weird because the job was nice. I like the job. I like Blizzard for the most part, though it's kind of, I mean, it's a cult of personality thing, so it's a little weird that too. But it's just Irvine. That's just it's a city made for like real estate agents, cars, and not for people. So it's just a weird place.
Robots,
It's
basically.
just a weird place to be.
This city is for my car.
It's essentially like, it doesn't. It's not made for people, so it doesn't feel good living there.
I bought my Lambo a house.
I'm here in Irvine
like-
with my Lamborghini.
Like, okay, so it feels like a city of absolutely no consequence. In as much as if a tornado ripped through there tomorrow and left Blizzard Studios alone, no one would know anything had happened because nothing in Irvine matters at all.
So brutal.
That's
you
what
really,
it feels
you
like.
really do
So
love the
brutal.
place.
And yeah, you know, I'm a lover, but it's a creepy place. It feels like there's gonna be a horror movie of that place at some point. Ugh. So I was happy to come to Copenhagen afterwards because Copenhagen is kind of the antithesis to it. Like it's
Oh man,
Copenhagen
I
is
want
full
to
of
go
charm
there.
and history and Danish people who are the quintessential anti-Californian. It's kind of awesome. The most Danish thing I've seen while I lived here was while I was out at 5 a.m. jogging. I saw a Danish person with a huge beer gut in full jogging gear, sort of trotting along while smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer.
Whoa.
That is the most Danish thing ever, and it just made me so happy because you would never see that in California.
5 a.m.
That person's being really healthy. Jogging, drinking, and smoking at the same time.
Yeah.
Priorities.
I'll burn off this.
I'll burn this beer.
All
Burn
about
it off right now. Just
But
fucking
that's
watch
the
it.
Danish thing. It's all about enjoyment, and clearly that's something he enjoys.
Good on that
That's a
guy.
good thing.
Good on him.
He's probably
Shout out
really
to
happy,
Buffy.
so that's nice. Like being super healthy but at the same time very unhappy is very bad overall too.
Yeah.
Probably, but if he dies doing what he loves, what does it matter?
That's yeah, we can I guess get back to questions. I'm like having trouble finding what the actual questions are.
I refreshed the page, so this is on you, buddy.
Oh no, Denzel, you left me alone.
Sorry. Alright, I can.
So did we answer the fox and the owls question about jobs?
Maybe. I don't
I'll
know.
read it out.
I forgot.
So it's for both Evan and Johnny. If you're offered a job to complete but it doesn't match what you normally do, do you take it because money's money and
Oh,
I know
yeah,
it,
we
or
answered
do you
that one.
deny it? Okay, cool. So we did.
I think that was the one while I was getting coffee, but yeah.
Oh.
Sassy boy.
You probably don't want to hear my answer. It's probably going to demoralize you, so let's move on.
Oh.
Matt McCherry art question. Do you guys think ArtStation is, for the most part, a misrepresentation of what concept art is? To me, it seems like most of the work there is of finished illustration quality. Bum, bum, bum.
That would constitute as something you would call promo art, which is very closely connected actually with concept art, because a lot of times, because concept art, when we think of concept art, we think design. But a lot of times in this kind of industry, you end up doing both. I don't know if Evan will agree on that, but I find you'll do some design work, but there's a lot of people looking for promo stuff, and it's like most of us, some of it, I know a lot of us started off illustrating initially before trying concept. I started off illustrating, so it's like for me at this point, I just take what I can get. So yeah.
Could it also be that it depends artist to artist, because when you watch Jama work, and his work is like photoreal stuff, and if you ever take any of his gumroads or whatever, he makes those pieces really quick. So is that really like a full-on finished, clean illustration thing, or is he just doing the thing he knows? And for us, it's like, that's not concept, that's illustration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be artist work.
Whether it's concept or illustration depends entirely on what the piece is for and what information is trying to be transferred.
Yeah.
So, some of the most effective concept art that I've ever seen is not necessarily. It's not. It tends to be super rough because it's impression.
Yeah.
It's about It's about explaining to someone what the idea that they're trying to get across is, and sometimes super polishing things can be more confusing than that, because you're making decisions that, by what the nature of the beast is, people want explanations all of the time, so we tend to just detail everything rather than simplifying them. And so I think some of the most effective concept art is the concept art that makes a simple statement well rather than a really complex statement badly.
Sorry.
Makes sense?
But do you believe that there also, in a way, the quality also sells the idea? Like if you have a really nice steak in a really dirty plate, it's gonna not be that appealing, right? Compared to a steak that's on a clean plate. So
yeah, but you're talking about
do you think there's a
entire
balance between that?
No, but you're talking about selling the entire package now. The idea is
no.
But the concept art isn't about presentation. The concept art is about transferring the idea of the quality of the steak.
Right.
So it's not about if the question is whether or not it's a shitty steak on a nice plate or a nice, it's just mincing words a little bit, because that's not what concept art is about. You're not selling something with concept art, you're explaining something with concept art. The reason why we have promo art is you take the concepts that you get out of the concept phase and you make them look real pretty, which is, you're polishing the plate, adding a little bit of sauce on the side.
Yeah.
That's right. No, the main reason I was asking that is because currently, I recently got into this industry. I'm working on something professional thing, and a lot of times the ideas that they seem to from what I see, is the ones that seem a little more polished. Like the clients were like, "Oh yeah, I like this one," but even if the idea doesn't seem as good as the other one, that's the main reason why I was trying to ask this.
I can't speak for the quality of most clients, because a lot of clients are, well, I guess that is true. For a lot of clients, they will migrate towards what just looks more polished, because it seems like more time has been put into it, and so it's an easy sell. But I will say that I will say that there is an argument to be made that constitutes art by committee, and by that term, art by committee tends to suck balls. So better than to have a client that has some trust in your ability to make choices as an artist.
You know what's fun is when Evan, do you ever get that like you know because remember before you're talking about how like when you're playing like God and you get that moment where you're like, oh, I just had like an idea that was in my head and then I turned it into a real thing by like making it into like a 2D image. And I like how that kind of relates to like doing concepts sometimes. Like you can sometimes spend like 20 minutes sketching out an idea, and because the idea is there emotionally, even though the presentation isn't as polished as it could be, it can be more effective than something that's polished. And that like that's such a great like it kind of add like that's part of that playing God moment where you create that thing in reality. But like when you can do something like that in just like a few minutes and it's got all the emotion and energy you want, you're like, okay, I'm done. Like that's pretty cool. Like when I realized that you could actually do that and like not finish something but still say a lot was like that was pretty crazy.
It's very linked to that moment when you've forgotten to do this one thing that's like a visual trope that you do, and you realize that you like the piece better than you would have if you had added that thing. And you're like, oh yeah, because that thing is just superfluous now. Ha!
Yeah.
Very nice moment. Yeah, when you sort of organically find yourself progressing. Oh, so good.
If there are any other questions right now?
Yeah. I'm trying to find one right now.
I could jump to another JP question.
I got it. So, well, before you get to JP then.
Alright.
Befuse, I'm sorry I killed the name, says, hello, thanks for the talk. Do you Photoshop your friends or yourself or use library photos, pose, or set up 3D models for your character design drawings? Basically, do you have like a base? No, man.
No.
I'm better than that.
Next.
It's not about being better, but it's about the fact that these things are, I mean, they are tools, but it's just, I find that, I mean, I don't use 3D because I suck at 3D, and because I can usually get through to whatever result I needed quicker by just working it up two-dimensionally. I try not to use specific reference, rather I study reference that has an ancillary or has a link to what I'm doing rather than a direct application.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what I'm getting out of this question is like whether or not I'm using direct reference, and I try not to.
No, what's an example of that? I'm kind of curious of what you mean.
Like if you're doing a character piece, right?
Okay.
And you have people posing in the particular poses that you are imagining people having in your painting, rather than trying to figure those out by drawing them out of your head. So if you go and take the pictures and you set it all together, that's using direct reference, something that's corresponding directly to a figure in your painting.
I see.
Or an element in your painting.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm guilty of direct references then, because like I tend to, especially for photo bashing, I literally create basically assets for my painting or like piece, where I take a picture of myself and I photo bash it in ways to make it work with this overall thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are definitely tools, but what I tend to feel like is that by using those tools rather than taking the time to study the subject matter and gaining a mastery of it, is that you're robbing yourself of the ability of the mastery. But if that doesn't appeal to you, and if the making of the image in upon itself is the goal, then by all means, and that all the more power to you. That is beautiful.
I think that goes back to client versus personal work a bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely like
run with two different sets of rules on those things.
Yeah, for the sake of art, I'd love to master things, but when you're put in the spot to create something last minute, I guess you just gotta use your tools. For a job like that is like killing you.
It's what you kind of find with commercial work. You end up just having a commercial process versus a way that you prefer to work on your own things.
Yeah, but I mean that simply applies to effective problem solving, because you are not in charge of what you're doing when you're freelancing. There's another person and another set of people who have direct control over what you have to do. So making that part of your life simpler for yourself, you might have some more energy to spend on your own work. I think that's worth the hypocrisy of it.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So, James Zapata asks, Evan, when did you have your wake-up moment? When did you realize you were relying on so many gimmicks? Yeah.
There's never been like one moment. I remember the first time that I figured out that I was doing it, but that wasn't the end of it. Like I still find little things, little visual shorthands that I have to eliminate and then go back and relearn elements. Like the first time, for example, was like it was after I'd had like I've met the guy who's now my best friend, and he had taught me like some tricks of manga drawing. And then like for a year I would just draw like little pinprick lights in my character's eyes because it like gave easy depth to eyes. And then at one point when I was trying to translate this into something else, it didn't work, and I hadn't realized that I was just using this as a sort of match-all to just, you know, dot an eye in any given drawing. And when I stopped doing it, and I started like, okay, I gotta go figure out what eyes actually look like. And it was interesting because then, like, the second and third and fourth times, I started like, this seems systematic. This seems like something that I should be able to foresee. And then I started like looking for those things. So I guess late high school, if you want like a a chronological answer.
Do you have any gimmicks, Johnny, or do you feel like you have had?
I feel like
gimmicks.
I feel like I'm recently just been creating my own gimmicks and then finding ways to create better ones and trying to get rid of old gimmicks. Like I feel like I'm progressing through a sea of them slowly. I don't know if that makes sense.
Sea of gimmicks.
Like I feel like I kind of got into the part where like I'm able to extract information in a way that I like. I don't think it's necessarily good or bad. Like I think sometimes I miss a lot of things. But I feel like it's stuff that is me, so that's enough to like, I don't know. But there is some things that I do rely on as shorthand. Like I use very specific shapes and things when I draw stuff, and I'm trying to experiment more and try like new approaches. So yeah, I don't know. It's like yeah, I definitely have a lot of shorthands that I use and that I'm trying to evolve, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's a little abstract.
I think the golden rule there is to just be very observant between when it's a tool and when it's a crutch.
Yep.
It's whether or not you can still do something without that thing, or rather, yeah, like do you need it, or is it just something you choose to use? And then again, being honest with yourself about that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a fucking good answer. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Question about your book again. Yeah, Hanson's asking that this is your first out of 3 books, and will there be other, and how will you put out the other books, Evan?
Yeah, it's unsure what we're gonna do after the 3rd book is out. I'm tempted to do like a Patreon thing, and then like use that to keep telling stories about that little universe and try and make up like longer form stories and stuff. That'd be really interesting. So yeah, there's definitely like ideas for making more stuff.
I'm actually kind of curious of like what else what other ideas that you had for this IP, I suppose, or the work that you're now turning into. You're now manifesting into something tangible. I remember you said something about a game having an interest in making a game.
Yeah, like it'd be interesting to like, it's gonna sound very much like a Breath of the Wild style game now, because that game was kind of like the game that I wanted before I knew that it existed.
Yeah.
And then when I learned that it existed, I was equal parts like really excited and like fuck. Because
Yeah.
But I mean, what Breath of the Wild is for right now is like it's a nice apotheosis of what the open world pure adventure game is.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting part about that game is that it's essentially linked to the past again. Like, it's essentially the same game, just updated for the technology we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that formula can be applied to so many worlds, and you could still have interesting and fulfilling exploration experiences. So, yeah, I think that as a backdrop for making up more stuff and like making a world with an internal logic and then keep designing out of respect for that internal logic, that could be really interesting.
Yeah. Alright, sick. Love to play Breath of the Wild.
I think one thing that's pretty interesting about that is that there's a lot of things that you probably saw in Breath of the Wild. You're like, oh, I wanted to do those things. But I think if you actually went into the process of a game development, that whole learning curve would really change a lot of things about how you would probably approach design. Like, you would probably do a lot of things differently once you actually did that. Like, imagine if you are directing like a team of like 200 people, right? Like, you would probably do a lot of really, really interesting little things and flavors that would make it like maybe a similar atmospheric feel, but it would be like its whole own entire thing.
Most likely, but that's kind of why I prefer to design those sorts of things for the sake of narrative rather than for the sake of like a game project. Because, or rather, when you work within a gaming or like within the design process of a game, there's always an eye to will it sell. There's always like this thing that goes on, like a little meta game, and it's thoroughly annoying when you're trying to do world building, because you really don't want to, like, if you try something new, there's always the risk that people won't like it. But I'd argue that that's as much the fault of who you've marketed it to as whether or not people in general like it. Like, look at the Dark Crystal, for example. It's such a cool, just visual statement for a world, and then there was no guarantee that people were gonna like it. But it's awesome.
That's awesome. I feel like the fault in that is that it also the process of making a game or anything that involves like will it sell mentality, it is kind of filtered through so many different minds and heads. Like Dan Levisi, for example, is just one mind who's very actively like adamant about this is going to work, this is going to sell. And I feel like if something like that pulls through, where it's an independent creator who has an independent project and did everything themselves, from story to art to whatever, and all they need to do is have it developed, and to see it succeed, I feel like that's pioneering an entirely new wave of people to become these independent creators like Dan and yourself, from what I'm seeing. Because like I'm tired of seeing games and big companies be like filter the ideas of the creatives through, these, I don't know, just through like a giant threshold of will it sell, like all of these like maybes and uncertainties,
It's kind of interesting because it's more or less exactly what happened in like the Japanese manga culture in like the late 80s and early 90s. And Hayao Miyazaki made like a really good point out of like his attitude towards it, where he called that whole process like artistic incest. And essentially what it means is that so many people start taking their entire field of reference from within the culture. So there's no new influx of new influences and new thought. And so it just becomes this like this ongoing self-promoting purification process where you end up with, like, if you look at the stuff of the early 2000s in Japanese manga, it has no longer got anything to do with life observation or drawing from life. It's just drawing from an ongoing extrudification of the manga style.
I feel like, yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what's going on in concept art a little bit right now.
I was gonna say that. Like, I feel like concept art is kind of like glorifying concept art right now. I don't feel like there's anything new that has or like relatively new, but like at the same time, like what at this point, what would be new? What would be something that, you know, people haven't seen? Well, if you knew the answer to that, then it would be out. But,
well, I think we'd only know when we see it. But I think part of it is getting away from this artistically incestuous scene and trying to inject some either new or old thoughts into the design process, or rather, like, stop this culture of over designing, because a lot of what concept art has become is just injecting just design ideas in everything, and some things can just be common sense. Like, we've gotten so used to the idea of designing with an eye towards the awesome that nothing's awesome anymore, because everything's awesome. You know, like, sometimes just try and do more out of, or just try and get more out of less. Just simple statements. I keep reiterating that, but like, if you know, like, what's his name, Zadig, Alexandre Dubois, he's a French artist.
I think so.
And his work is like fairly simple, but his statements are so pure and so simple that it comes through, and it that's more effective to me than like the most beautifully rendered thing that doesn't really say anything.
But I feel like now that's become a taste of people, because like when they go and look at Zedig's work, they may not necessarily get it, right? I think it's like that kind of mentality has been, like, it's evolved in so many different platforms, like anime, for example. Like, the anime that comes up now is just like the same recycled shit over and over, and like in concept art as well. But like when something new and brilliant and fresh comes out, the audience now responds to it as like, oh, well, this isn't what I've, spent.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that. Like, you look at Gurren Lagann, or like that other one from the same studio. Like, that was a brilliant take on fucking with the entire idea of the of manga having become so sort of self-feeding that it's just become silly. So they played with the underlying structure of the anime series instead of like trying to take it seriously. They made it silly.
I guess that's fair.
So that's one way of doing it. Like,
just
looking at everything.
Make ironic concept art. I want to see an IP about concept art. Like,
well, look at Mr. What's his name? Mr. Concept Art.
Yeah,
that's exactly what that is. That's exactly the same thing.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, but that's exactly what that is, though. It's just a look at all this stuff that you're doing that doesn't mean anything because it's just mindless repetition. But if you want to look at like cool new ideas in concept art, like, Russia has just a silly amount of interesting artists that don't get enough exposure. And we went there last year for the artillery workshop.
Oh yeah, artillery.
And it's mind blowing to see so many artists who just pop out of nowhere, and their source of reference and their source of aesthetic is so other that you find yourself super inspired by the sheer sort of influx of new ideas that you're getting just from observing these people. That's awesome. So I suggest maybe travel if you want like an idea for how to get new ideas.
Do you have any artists that you remember from that workshop that come to mind right now, or is it kind of?
I'm terrible with names.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
And they spoke Russian. I couldn't understand.
Wait, I'm gonna. There's one guy who's people are probably somewhat. Victor Titov is one of them. So his Victor with a K and then Titov, Titov. He's a magic artist. So some people have probably seen his work, but he's amazing.
I'll ask that from you, Denzel, afterwards when you find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it seems like we have 9 minutes left.
No! Why?
What?
Stupid time. Okay.
Yeah, time happens sometimes.
Time happens. Check out Evan's six tracker. Got him.
Stop crema!
Just snuck it right in there.
I had to.
Good boy.
Before we run out of time, though, I'd love to know.
Okay.
What?
No.
What do you want?
What's your suggestion? I was gonna suggest to speed through questions.
Well,
I'm just wondering, what are you painting, Johnny?
I have no idea, actually. I'm just
Warden Part 3.
having some fun.
Okay,
Maybe.
this is fun to watch.
Yeah. We can
I'm
sit
not
here
sure,
and wait for
honestly.
Johnny to finish it then.
Isn't that radish? You're drawing a radish, right?
Must be.
But yeah, I want to know if, if Evan wants to talk about what people can expect from him at Edge Control this summer, if they're coming.
That's right. When they're
You can expect to feel disappointed about your journey as an artist because you'll never be as good.
Yeah. Pretty much. You should expect a goddamn good time. That's what you should expect.
There we go.
That's it. That's really
You heard it here.
That's it.
Spread the word.
Spread it.
Oh yeah.
Like butter. Butter is good.
Spread it like your Netflix account.
Okay. I still have the JP question, but
Go.
I want to ask this to both Johnny and Evan, actually. So, if either of you were a centaur, what half of you would be a horse, and what half would be a human? Do you want to be human?
Wait, so you
This is
the
weird.
alternative is to have like it's like to have what's that Netflix series? BoJack Horseman?
No.
Or is it like a humanoid horse? That's the alternative.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I go for classic for transportational reasons.
I don't know.
Yeah, classic is pretty sick.
Well, okay, let's
You could
think
still
of
be like, kind of human looking, so people could kind of relate to you. But then at the same time, you're just like, you could be like having a call like this where it's like Google Hangouts and we're all talking to each other, and
but you don't know.
you don't know, right?
Centaur.
It'd be amazing.
Okay.
Nobody knows you're a centaur.
Interesting.
Oh no.
And also, just a major drawback of the other solution is, tooth decay is a big problem for horses. So, I prefer human teeth, kind of.
That's true.
I learned something today.
You'll be faster if you do the bottom part as a horse, dude. Like, just do that.
I don't know.
Keep
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask this: is the half of the horse, does that include the stomach, or does that go to the human?
What do you mean? Like,
Okay, if
your
I
diet
had,
changes, or you're
if
gonna
I-
start eating?
yeah, because imagine the benefit of not having to eat meals. Like you could just go out, eat grass, come back, and you'll be fine. If you had a
That's an interesting question, just in terms of diet.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to think of the benefits for having a
Was
horse.
I'm guessing you'd have the same taste sensations. Like, I don't imagine a centaur would like go and graze like a horse does. That'd be, first of all, just slightly difficult to do.
Right. Maybe
The thing is, though, for a
carry
centaur, you
something.
probably have to eat a shitload of food because you probably have like
Yeah.
a couple stomachs at least.
Great though. Just that's a great excuse to just eating a lot of delicious food.
Yeah, all the time. You probably wouldn't
You'd go over
like.
budget.
You'd have to find some. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's tricky lifestyle.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there anything that horses have, like, because dogs find, like, to a dog, chocolate is poison. Is there anything like that? Horses?
Oh, that's true. Let's search it up.
Okay.
Poison.
What poisons a horse?
Oh, and like what about like poop management?
Oh, see, that's another thing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
People
Horses,
are
they used
so
to
quick
shit all
to-
over the place.
People are so quick to answer, like, oh, of course I have a horse butt. But in reality, like, think of all the negatives to deal with.
I don't know, would you wear a diaper, maybe?
It would get filled up really fast. No, I'm not
That-
like because it was not like you would just be like involuntarily pooping, but you'd like it's a lot all the time.
That's true.
Like
Well,
if
then
you've
you-
ever been around horses, you just see them poop everywhere.
Do you think the digestion system would be based on the evolutionary tract of a horse or a human in that case? Would
Probably
it be
if
able to
it's
process-
if it's like a traditional centaur, I think it would be more like a horse.
You'd think so, but the internal system would be based more on your general diet. So would you still be willing and able and wanting to eat meat? Because in that case, you would have a much longer, like, long intestine.
Oh.
That's interesting.
These are deep and interesting questions. See, this is why.
Would you go to a vet or would you go to a doctor?
Well, here's the thing, guys. If you guys are actually half horse, then it means you can't have anything with caffeine, chocolate,
What?
Oh.
garlic
No,
and
no.
onions, tomatoes, fruit seeds and pits, dog and cat kibble, potatoes, houseplants. You're done for.
Houseplants.
What?
Oh my
I can't
God.
have potatoes. No.
You can't have your houseplants. You can't eat them.
But
Okay.
see, but I'm gonna take issue with this because I'm not convinced that a centaur would necessarily be living off a horse's diet.
I don't know. Well, they have a horse stomach. That's the thing. And like, okay, well,
Well,
what does
well,
a
remember-
centaur traditionally look like? And we could decide based on the anatomy, like, where is the stomach? On.
Well, the only natural description that you have from a centaur is from Greek mythology, and in that, the only real description is of a humanoid with like horse-like legs, or a horse-like nether body.
So it doesn't even.
But that just means like that he has equine features. It doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the inner anatomy is based on a horse's.
It's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
I
James
know.
Zapata says, "How about human towers?" And Sam says, "Human tower." And there's also hen towers.
Oh shit! It's
There's-
6 already. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
What's a centaur?
What is it?
I guess a hen and a horse mixed. I don't know.
And
Something.
a horse.
That's maybe that's your next drawing.
So everything's normal except your hands are hooves.
I don't
Sign
know.
me up.
All right, so it's 6.
It is 6.
You have the option to leave or stay for. It's up to you.
There you
I
go.
don't
for-
know. I'm not implying anything.
Yeah. You know, like 10 minutes. What's the difference between 0 and 10? You know? It's not much. Not much.
What's math anyway?
All right.
Pretty
well,
boring.
okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
We can. Okay. Let's give it a bit, like 5 minutes. We'll
Let's
try
just
and
wait
code it.
till our social, or let's just wait till our willingness to be social just ends abruptly, and then we just go bye.
Yeah.
Just all of a sudden, and
Are
Or
you
don't
free?
even say anything. We just go.
Yeah, don't even say bye. Just close it.
Yeah.
We just
It's less
slowly
painful
fade
that
out.
way.
I think, in all seriousness, let's try to end in like 15 minutes. I feel
50?
like
50?
15.
15.
So,
All right.
50.
so I don't want to like, hold up, because like I don't want to get to a point where, in the back of your heads, you're like, I want to leave now, but we're still going.
All right.
Why would you say that?
I don't know. Anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad that John Polidora asked this amazing question. Even if he's not, is he here? I'm not sure. But even without being here,
He's at work.
he's with us. He's right now with us, and
Nice.
he really did lead a really good conversation here.
Mhm.
That's quite a friend right there.
In that same vein,
JP is awesome.
yeah, get to see him at Edge Control. If you guys want to see JP and Evan, Mel, and Munson at Edge Control,
Just give us your money.
There's definitely gotta be a dance party.
Mhm.
Joking. It's tough.
There's gonna be a
It's tough.
dance-off,
We gotta pay those bills. It's tough.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's time to end this stream.
Let's answer one more question, because we did miss one by Drive-By Uppercut.
Okay.
He was asking what kind of ways help you kick bad and old habits, and to help retain good and new habits for painting and drawing.
Ooh. It's a hard question. Ooh. It's hard to nail down exactly what. I think it's just experience. Like, after a while, putting things off and like just the sort of want to be to find easy solutions and to be lazy kind of gives off a little bit, and you get better at just motivating yourself.
Well, okay, let me ask this then. During your first job, did you must have felt like you weren't doing things as competent as you might have thought that you could, or something in that vein. When you had your first job, did you realize a lot of the bad habits that you did establish when trying to get work out, at a deadline at a certain pace?
Yeah. When I got my first job, I was not very good at picking my battles, and so I would end up like arguing a lot about concept with one of the guys I had to work with, and it took about like 2 weeks of us arguing back and forth and not like getting anywhere until we both realized that we were arguing to win and not to sort of communicate. And then we realized that we both kind of like laughed at it, and then we managed to sort of get to a point where we figured out that we were just gonna, if we argued, it had to be for a point. It couldn't just be to win. And I guess that was, yeah, it was a little bit of a blow to like the old ego to figure to like find that out. But then when you did, you felt so much better about it.
I see. How about you, Johnny? I know you talk about habits a lot. I'm curious to see, like, do you have any strats, pro strats, getting rid of them?
I feel like for me, when I think about this kind of thing, it's something that we always will struggle with, because the longer we do this kind of thing, we keep figuring out better and better ways to study and to understand and to pull like abstract things from reality. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, when you are looking at the things you need to improve on and your old habits, and you're like, you can sit down and be like, okay, what are my bad habits, and what are the things I need to work on? Like, say for example, you don't start drawing structurally to warm up, or at the start of a drawing, you just jump in and start blocking in colors and stuff without thinking about the underlying like 3D geometry. And you're not being conscious of that. But if you try to be conscious of it, if you make that effort to be conscious about it, you're actually, what's going to happen is you're actually going to get slow. It's a long process, but you're slowly going to get better at thinking about things and making conscious decisions while you paint. I think that's a pretty big part of learning to get over bad habits, is being very thoughtful about things when you're going into paint and study and trying to problem solve. And that's a little bit different from just like, oh, I'm just going to go in and paint something emotionally and maybe something cool come out of it, which is nice to do too. But when you're actually trying to get over something or to make a breakthrough, you have to be very, very thoughtful about the decisions you're making, in terms of like where you're analyzing something or studying. And that alone, like the learning to be analytical and conscious that like, okay, I have to make these decisions because these are my weak points, is something that is like a separate mental muscle that you have to develop, along with everything else, like all the fundamental stuff you need to learn and like how to approach things. Like I think learning to be very thoughtful about that kind of stuff and analytical is, for me, is my way of combating that. And learning when to see, like being honest with yourself and learning when to see when you're having those problems, and stopping right away. And like, so like sometimes when I warm up, I'll start drawing and I'm not thinking about any of the right things that I'm supposed to think about. And I did that quick sketch and say like if I do a sketch in like 10 minutes or something, then I look back at it and I'd be like, okay, I look at it and I'm like, okay, I did all these bad things. Like I didn't think structurally, wasn't thinking about my lighting direction, wasn't considering perspective, all this kind of stuff. Then the next one after, I try to solve all those problems, like the bad habits. Sometimes it can just be one thing at a time. But
I don't think I've heard that put better. That's very well said, sir.
Oh, thanks. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I have a hard time putting that into words, but I guess, yeah, if it makes sense to you guys, then good.
You have it on video or recording too, so you can play it back whenever. Yeah,
I feel like that's been my biggest struggle being self-taught is dealing with bad habits, honestly. Like, yeah, it's tricky.
Beautiful. Well done. Pretty much. I think that's really...
How do you... to play like... Well, I just wanted to ask, like, how do you quantify your analysis? Like, what if you're unable to objectively see, like, where you are or where you stand as an artist? Like, how would you then be able to apply analysis to, improve?
But that's not what analysis is. It's much simpler than that. It's like, okay, so let's say that the piece you're doing is something fairly simple. It's a character on a horse, and you have no goddamn idea of how to draw a horse, okay, right? So the quantification of how to study the horse then is, how can you draw a horse that will stand in relation to the character that you presumably know how to draw, right? So then you have to go first into analyzing whatever stylistic tools you're using to create your character, and take those into the study process with you. Then you have to solve the spatial problems of a horse and anatomically, and then try and apply the stylistic understanding that you've already applied to whatever style you're using, and then incorporate those two. When you have that understanding, when you can understand how those simplified shapes work in relation to one another, then you can take that back into your sketch. And you probably will have to try and do that construction a couple of times because you're not used to it yet. Mm-hmm. But that's what studying is about. It's not about, I'm going to go and study horses today and then drawing a ton of horses. Because if you're just doing straight copies of horses and just breaking down to like the Loomis, Hogarth aspects of it, then yeah, you get a certain amount of information, but it's not necessarily information that you will know how to deploy later. Unless you really think about it, which is an entirely, like that's a different mental muscle to work on. But I think that's why it's the easiest way of studying, doing the studies particular to whatever you're working on at the moment.
I see. Good shit.
Did you just call his advice shit?
It's good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Rude.
the best of shit.
That's the shit.
English language is so much fun.
I hate it. I hate
Yo,
it
guys,
so
get your shit together. You're shit. I'm the shit.
That's
What does it mean?
fucking-
All right.
Pretty much. I think it's on a good note to start
So
wrapping
wrapping
things
up.
up. Let Mr. Evan live life and sleep, and Mr. Johnny get back to his daily stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I gotta get those. I gotta get that 15 hours of sleep in.
Gotta get that 20 hours, bro.
That's 20 hours of snooze.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. Honestly, this was an amazing stream, very informative, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you guys. Well, Johnny, I'll see you, Evan.
Yeah.
Looking forward to see you during the event.
If you haven't already for some reason, go check out Evan's Kickstarter. Can you link it again, Zabby, for his book?
Sorry, link what?
Time.
Yes,
Time.
yes, I'm on it.
I already got one because I had to. I couldn't not. Do check it out. Do check it out. And by chance, if you come to Edge Control, you will definitely get to see Evan and Johnny, here to hang out with you.
This August 19th and 20th. I'll put the link, please.
So
That's it,
thank you, boys, for being here.
Thank you, beautiful audience, and
Thank
you
you
guys.
for the memes. We'll see you. We'll see you in the next stream. Who knows when that'll be? But we'll try and keep everyone updated. All right. Sick, nasty.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good day and good night.
Have a nice
Cheers.
one.